Hi, where's Luke? Max? Where's Luke? No show?
Let's just wait.
So we just got Otter at the moment taking this call, huh? Oh, I should take that off, sorry. So we got people. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay, what is up, everybody? I am not the host, so Max, if you could make me host, that'd be awesome.
Do it, Max.
Mr. Max. Okay. All right. Well, I am very happy to be here with everyone. There's a lot of familiar faces and some new faces. Can you please, before we jump in, put in the chat, what do I want to ask? Put in the chat, I guess, like what you're here for. So either what you do, like media buyer, copywriter, business owner, and then what you're really looking to get out of this. So it could be either one of those. Like, I really want to master attention for this reason, or for this format, because that'll help me sort of tailor what we're doing. So put that in the chat. Max, did you make me host?
Yep.
Okay. Biz owner, sales page. Copywriter, I want to master attention for growing an audience and for getting clients. Dom says, I want to master lead gen. Ron Javier says, freelancer, copywriter. Nick Watson, copywriter, attention hacking, strategies to improve my emails for clients. Media buyer, copywriter, business owner, getting clients. Business owner, I need to master attention for mainly emails. Okay, same as Dakota. Business owner, messaging and targeting perfect buyer. Short form content on IG and TikTok for monetizing digital products, copywriter. Okay, cool. I mean, it's pretty diverse as far as the formats. Lots of copywriters, some business owners. Cool.
All right, Louis, you're the host.
Perfect. As long as I can mute JoJo. Just kidding. Just kidding, JoJo. We love you. All right. And we got Mario here.
How's it going? I'm excited too.
Sometimes when you're like, if you're a copywriter, you'll know what this means when you get so in the weeds with something, like you're so in a project that you've been looking at it for like hours, and then it's time to show somebody and you're like, I actually don't even know if what I wrote is like coherent. Like, I don't even know if it makes sense at this point because you've been so in it. Maybe I'm the only one, but I've been working on this presentation for a lot of time because it's a very, very big topic and there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do. But let's just jump in. All right. Perfect. And I'm going to ask just to double check, make sure that you're muted as we go through this, just so the recording is clean. All right, everyone can see this, correct? Okay, cool. So I'm calling this attention alchemy because I like to put alchemy in in everything. I think it's supposed to be called the speed to emotion or something like this, but we are going to cover that. But I like to call this attention alchemy, and I'm calling it part 1 for a reason that you'll see in just a second. And here's everything that we're going to go through on today. So the first one is going to be the speed to emotion formula, which is really just a systematic way for triggering emotion. And I'm really, really, really happy that, like, when I say this is systematic, it's very, very systematic. If you go through these processes, and I'm going to show you step by step how it works, you will come up with, like, I'm not going to say infinite or endless, but more hooks and more ways to get attention for any sort of format than you'll likely ever need, right? So if you're here to do like short form content, then you can get a year's worth of short form content just by going through this. So it's very, very powerful. And I'm going to show you that formula. And then, like I said, there's also going to be a workflow. Okay, so we didn't really talk about this a lot, but there's probably about 6 or 7 steps that I'll show you how to go through this. And literally, if you know your target market and you know what your product is, that's all the work you have to do. And the rest can be done with simple prompts and then choosing, right? And it's not 100% automated. You still need to be in the driver's seat as far as choosing the outputs that you like and doing a little bit of massaging. But I would say about 90 to 95% of what I'm going to show you here can be done with literally step-by-step prompts. Then at the end of this, there will be basically a challenge for you. And I'll explain what that looks like in a second. All right, so there's a couple little things that I want to preface before we jump into this, which is like, okay, so why is attention so important? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because if you're here on this call, you understand why attention is so important. And honestly, if you're just a living human, like human being at this point, you should understand why attention is so key, right? Like we've heard all the phrases, attention economy, everything like that. But honestly, when I was reflecting on like my life and I was reflecting on my career, right? I was an SAT tutor, then I was a copywriter. I worked with Stefan. We became partners. Like every single thing that I've done, if I did not know how to get attention, I would have had no success. It does not matter how good you are at anything. There are people who are elite at a skill set, but don't know how to generate attention. And they're always going to lose to those people who know how to generate attention. It's such a precious commodity. And when you look at all the resources that people have, we have energy, we have time, we have money. Time is one of the most unique commodities and resources that we have. And attention and time are like intricately woven together. So the ability to get someone's attention is the ability to capture someone's time and make it worth it to get their time, which is such a powerful skill for relationships, for business, for status, for influence. Literally, there's nothing that you can accomplish in life without knowing how to get attention. And so all of these patterns, right? The reason, for the copywriters in here, the reason I ended up working with Stefan was I found ways to sort of get on his radar, get attention, and move forward, right? Same thing when I was an SAT tutor. I found ways to get attention and get a shit ton of clients, and then also get status within the little SAT community and whatever that means, and go from there. So the attention is super, super important. A couple little things on here is that we're going to be going into like emotional theory because I love to nerd out about this stuff. So I'm going to make it entertaining and fun, but hopefully if you're a nerd about psychology, you'll enjoy this. And then we're going to even go deeper behind emotions, because what you'll see is that unless you know what actually motivates the emotions that we feel, there's no way to trigger them. Okay, you have to understand the underlying motivations in order to trigger those emotions. But emotional affective neuroscience and motivations is a very big, broad field in the grand scheme of things. So we're going to go with the presentation that I'm going to give you. Okay, I'm not saying this is the truth. This is a presentation of how these emotions work and the underlying motivations beneath them. And it is really, really good. It will get the job done most of the way. Okay, and I'll show you what it looks like. The other thing is that we're going to be focusing on what I'm calling like attention in the raw. Okay, so attention is agnostic when it comes to the format. You can get attention on Instagram Reels. You can get attention on YouTube. You can get attention on Facebook. You can get attention on a job board. So attention is platform agnostic. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, like just the essence of attention and how to generate some of the assets that you can use to write better emails, write better ads, whatever it is that you want to do. We're going to touch briefly on how to format it, but there's so many nuances when it comes to specific formats and specific platforms that there's no way we can go through all of them. Okay, I'm going to touch on it high level and on part 2, right? Not Mario's thing tomorrow, which is going to be sick, but a second part 2 that I'll tell you at the end of this training. we'll go a little bit deeper into some of those platforms. But for now, we're going to focus on attention in the raw. Okay, the other thing is that in order to use the prompts and the workflows, you don't need this to get value out of this training, but in order to use the workflows, you need either access to Poe or you need access to both ChatGPT and Claude. Okay, and you need premium access, which means you need GPT-4 and you need Claude 3. I know some people don't have that, and I know subscriptions can start to add up, but I played around with everything. I tried to find the loopholes, and at the end of the day, you have to have Claude 3 and you have to have GPT-4. My recommendation is just get Poe, $20 a month. You get premium access to it, and you get everything that you need. Plus, you get some really big context windows, which are going to come in handy for some of these prompts on here. Okay, so if you don't have Poe, like while I'm talking, go to poe.com, sign up, and get access to that. Okay, most of you guys know who I am. I'm not going to like bore you, but if you don't know who I am, I want to, put a little bit of some street cred on here that I know how to do attention, especially when it comes to copywriter, right? So work with Stefan Georgi, with him and Mario, we built up CA Labs, which is an agency that did 7 figures in less than a year. I've beaten some, unbeatable controls. I went back and checked with Stefan. We wrote about 40 different VSLs in 2 years, including controls for some pretty big companies. And then, I wrote some ads for some of our offers that, I said went notoriously viral, meaning, they got millions of views. Some say for the wrong reasons. We pissed off some animators with some animation ads. But regardless, I've written a lot of this stuff. I've written a lot of ads. I've written a lot of VSLs. One thing that I really learned while working with Stefan, this is good for any of the copywriters who are on this call, is Stefan was really the first one to impress upon me how important leads are, which by extension means how important the first few seconds of an ad, an email, a VSL, anything you do, how important those first few seconds are. Okay, if you go and you look at Instagram short reels, for instance, a really good reel, like a viral reel that does millions and millions of views, 50% of the viewers hop off within the first 3 seconds. And that's a really good short form reel. Okay, so those 3 seconds are so important. It does not matter what platform you're looking at. Some platforms it's not 3 seconds, but for the most part, it's really, really quick. On a VSL, on a YouTube video, on a short form, whatever it is, you're capturing attention within that short amount of time. Okay. And Stefan was one who really impressed this on me. Like, we wrote so many different leads together all the time. And he really helped me. I think he's one of the best at writing ultra compelling leads. And so he's one who really impressed that on me. Okay. And there's a couple things. Here's me meditating if you want to see that. Okay. So I know a thing or two about getting attention, but turning it into an actual science and a formula was different. So I want to pay homage to some of the people who helped. And if you're looking for doing more deep dives into some of these, I think this guy Wono for YouTube strategy is one of the most interesting thinkers about attention. He really thinks about it in terms of economics. Brilliant stuff, really, really good. Rory Flynn's in the middle. He has some free trainings on Midjourney, which we're going to use some processes that he shared. You can look it up on YouTube. Really cool stuff. And then some others who have helped with some of the science, some of the short form stuff. Dave Katage, one of our coaches within Age, within our ecosystem, and a really good, he worked with Uber and Amazon, videographer, and he's taught me a lot about the visuals. Okay, because in this training, we're going to go over, yes, hooks, which means like concepts and ideas, but we're also going to be going over visuals as well. And we have this guy here. Who is this guy? You'll see in a moment. All right, so let's break this down. The S2E formula, the speed to emotion formula, which is basically an emotional response divided by the time it takes to stimulate that response. Okay, so this whole training, the key to getting attention is literally to trigger an emotional response in the quickest amount of time possible. That's it. Trigger an emotional response, shortest amount of time possible. And what I'm going to show you is literally a step-by-step methodology that will help you help you do that. Okay, why emotions? It kind of seems like a dumb question, but what I want you to, this is literally, I just pulled this out of Claude, but this is the one that I wanted to highlight because this is the best way to think about emotions. Emotions are a shortcut that inspire action. Okay, literally just think about when you're pissed off versus when you're not pissed off, and think about how more likely you are to take action, right? Let's say you're already pissed and someone cuts you off versus you're in in a state of bliss because you've been meditating all day, right? And someone cuts you off, right? Think about how quickly or the different actions and reactions that you're going to have. When you're in an emotional state, you are primed to act. It's a shortcut. And cognitively, it's designed, it has an evolutionary advantage, right? You're already primed to act immediately. So this is why emotions are the key. Because if we're looking to have a response in the shortest amount of time, you have to elicit an emotion. Okay, it's faster, it's subconscious, it's faster than the logical brain can process. Cool, and there's, I'm not going to go into it here, but there are so many amazing studies out there that, if you read books like Thinking Fast and Slow, or you go and look into like different cognitive biases or some of these studies, there's some crazy things. Like some of you may know, experiments that were done where people basically had to, two groups of people had to take a test, and there was an option for them to cheat. Right? It wasn't explicit, but there's an option for them to cheat. And all they did, one room was just blank, and another room they had just a pair of eyeballs at the top on a banner at the top. And the room that had the eyeballs were less likely to cheat. And so the hypothesis is like, hey, you're being yeah, I just saw reptile porn and got distracted. See, attention. Those pair of eyes basically made people feel like they were watched, and then they ended up acting like, yeah, it got my attention too. Now I'm off track. And it ended up basically, they like behaved more. So there's all of these subconscious, unconscious cues that stimulate action. Okay, so here we go. What's an emotion, right? Some boring question, but this is important. Okay, an emotion is one of these guys here. Okay, with Mario in the middle. So the common emotions are basically, you have joy, you have fear, you have anger, you have disgust, and you have sadness. Okay, there's more complex emotions that are out there, but this is a pretty like standard breakdown of the core emotions that everybody has. One thing that I do want to point out to you, which is kind of interesting, is there technically are 4 negative emotions and 1 positive valence emotion. It's really quite interesting to think about it, just how primed we are to enter, to go into protection or a negative state. Really quite interesting to think about. Okay, and here's a wheel here. This is from, I think I got this from care.com, and it kind of breaks it down as well, right? You can have sad, disgusted, angry. Some people put surprised in there, fearful, happy, and then there's different dimensions that expand from there. Okay, so the core ones are going to be joy, fear, anger, sadness, and disgust. Okay, but here is something that's interesting, is that for all the talk about emotions and speed to emotion that we're going to go through, we're actually not going to spend a lot of time looking at those 5 core emotions. Okay. That's because we want to focus on what's beneath the emotion. Okay. What's driving the emotion? Why is someone getting, plot twist. Why is someone getting angry? Why is someone entering into a state of sadness? Why is someone entering into a fearful state? And I will tell you why. It all goes back to this guy here. Okay, so this guy is a man named Jacques Panksepp. Jacques Panksepp, probably one of he passed away I think about 10 years ago, but probably the leading neuroscientist in the field of affective neuroscience, which is basically the study of emotion. And he came at the study of emotion in a really interesting way, where he basically looked at, there are different circuits that all mammals, and including humans, have within their brain. And he identified 7 of these different circuits. And then, you know, after he passed, people included like an 8th circuit. But these are like biological hardwired circuits that everybody has within their body. And they operate almost independently of each other. I'm going to go through them and explain what that means in a second. His name is Jacques Panksepp. I'll write it in here. He wrote pretty much the Bible on emotional neuroscience. It's a really, really fascinating book. And the reason why we're bringing him up is because these systems that he identified are actually the drivers of all the emotions that we feel. All of these core systems drive all the emotions that we feel. So if you want to get attention, which means you want to elicit emotion in the shortest amount of time possible, then you need to know how to stimulate and trigger these underlying systems, and you can create any sort of emotion that you want from there. Everybody following that so far? It makes sense? Okay, cool. So I'm going to share what these systems are. And in order to explain the first system, because the first system, as you'll see in a moment, is the most important when it comes to getting attention. It's almost like in a category of its own. Okay. And it's called the agent, right? Which is the seeking system. Okay. So everybody has this. It's the curiosity. It's looking for something, right? All of us, our attention is primed that we're seeking something. And primarily what we're seeking is to move from pain into pleasure. That's pretty much it. Move from pain into pleasure. And that's done with the seeking system. We're going to revisit the seeking system in a little bit, because you'll see why it's so key for attention and for creating hooks. But just know that the seeking system is always looking, how do I move from pain into pleasure? Very, very simple. But let's go through a couple of these other systems. And what you're going to see is that I'm going to label them and give them names, because I want you to start thinking about these systems as independent actors within you. This is why sometimes we feel conflicted, right? We have like different motivations, and we feel like, what one part of me is telling me to do this, another part of me is telling me to do this. Think of these as these independent systems. All right. Okay. So one of these is basically the warrior, which you can think of as the rage or anger system, is what it's told. Okay. The warrior, rage and anger. And this system is all about either like in a very just eliminating any sort of frustration or obstacle that you have. Okay. And protecting your own boundaries, whether that's a physical boundary or a social boundary. That's what that is. That's what this system is about. Triggers anger. Yeah. This is Mario, actually, here on the left. Okay. The next one is the protector. This is a very fear-based one. Okay. This is the one that shrinks, goes into hiding. The protector, the fear, very, very strong emotion. And it's a very, very self-centered emotion. Okay. So it contracts, moves into fear. Another one is the lover, which is also called the lust system, that Jacques Panksepp. This is all about mating, reproduction. Okay, next one you have the nurturer, which is all about the care system. And the other thing too is we're not going to go into it on this training. We may touch it on the next one, but all of these systems typically have specific neurotransmitters that dominate them. Okay, so you hear a lot of people will talk about, oh, here's how you got to trigger this, you got to trigger that, you got to trigger whatever. All of those are, a lot of those neurotransmitters are directly connected to these systems. So the agent is all about dopamine. Fear, a lot of cortisol. Nurture care system is governed by oxytocin. We don't need to go into all those key things, but if you studied NLP, if you looked at like how do you elicit specific like neurotransmitters in people's minds, connecting them to this framework is going to help clarify a lot of that as well. The other one is you have the mourner, which is what generates panic or sadness. Okay, when you activate this system, there's a deep desire to like reconnect with others. Okay, so when there's a lot of sadness, you go into reflection, and then you also want to connect with others. You don't want to be isolated. There's the jester. I try to find like a less creepy, but believe me, all the images that I got for the jester were like way creepier than this one. So, apologies for that. But this one is all about play. Then you have the doctor, which is all about the discuss system. This is disease avoidance, right? Moving away from. So these are the core systems that all of us have operating within us, okay? Mostly governed by this seeking system. And if you know how to trigger any of these different systems, you can trigger whatever emotions that you want. Make sense? Okay, one thing to know though is the reason you want to think of these as independent actors is because some of these systems can be in conflict with each other. Okay, so there are times when, you know, you could say the lover and the protector are both, these systems are against each other. You want to go talk to the pretty girl, and yet you have some sort of fear around what could happen with that, right? Conflict. Done. So these systems can be in conflict and in tension with one another. So you want to think of them as independent actors. And really what you want to do is whenever you're trying to get attention, you want to think from the point of view of your avatar, right? And here I phrase it as like an ad campaign. You want to think which one of these agendas support our campaign. Okay, so who do we want to get on our team? And which of these agendas oppose our campaign? So we know how to address those and kind of do a workaround for them. Okay. And so that's the basic framework that we're gonna cover on this. And now the question is like, all right, well, if we have these different systems and they trigger these different emotions, and we know that if we trigger those emotions in the shortest amount of time, we'll get someone's attention. How do we go about triggering those different agendas? Okay, so this is where we're going to start working through this actual workflow. Right? Any questions so far? Is everyone sort of following along? Good. Okay. Cool.
These are based on that person's study, Jack. Was it that?
Jacques Bengset? Yes.
Okay, good.
Cool. So the first thing that we're going to do is if we're going to know, going to try to trigger certain kinds of agendas, we have to understand our avatar. Okay, there's a lot of different ways to do this. We're going to use the Build a Better Buyer, right? If anyone has been in our circle, you've seen us use this for long periods of time. It still works unbelievably well. I use it literally as the foundation for anything that I do when it comes to AI and marketing. All right, so let me actually stop this real quick so I can show you. And yet everyone will get a copy of everything that I have shared here. So let's do it like this. Okay. Everyone can see my full screen now, right? Okay, cool. All right, so the first one is, if you have not seen this one, I'll go through it real quick. This is basically it's a prompt that will give you a really detailed buyer avatar that you can use as the foundation for anything else that you want to do. And what's great about this is, let me see how long this is. It's about 1,700 words. Joshua asks, is Jacques' book, The Emotional Foundation of Personality, the one that covers what we're talking about with emotional systems? He has a couple books. He has a TED Talk I would recommend. The Bible that he wrote is basically called Affective Neuroscience. So this is like the foundational one. It is very, very dense, very, very interesting. And then he has another one that's a little more approachable. But if you're going to read any of them, I would kind of check out this one here. Okay, so what's great about this prompt here is the only things that you need to add in are target market. Here's an example, and the product. Okay, metabolic reset coaching program that uses a natural, sustainable approach. When you're entering this product information, okay, for all the copywriters in here, the more that you enter this in sort of with a mechanism or something, some sort of interesting idea in this, you'll be laying a better foundation for everything else that you're going to do. But honestly, these are the only two things that you really need to enter for the rest of everything I'm going to show you. Okay, so, sorry, you got to do 2 sentences, but, the rest is automated from there. So I'm going to show you real quick. Most of you have seen how to use this, but if you haven't, really, really simple. I'm going to use Poe. I'm going to use Claude 3. pop it in. You can use GPT-4 for this if you want. I found that Claude 3 gave me a better output when I went through these. Okay, so it'll give you everything that you want it to do. Now, again, when this thing prints, if you want to go and read through it and really make sure it's accurate, awesome. And we won't get into it today, but there's other things you can do, like you can use scraping tools. One of the ones I like the most is browse.ai. And you can go to Amazon and scrape Amazon comments, or you can go into like Reddit and you can scrape comments from Reddit around certain topics. And then all you can do is upload all of those into Claude just in here. And then you can run the prompt and say, hey, I want you to pull specifically from those comments and pull specifically from those Amazon reviews. Give me the specific language, and it will give you tons of detail that you know is actually coming directly from, it'll come directly from their language, right? So if you're worried that this is not going to be a great output, that can help you as well. And then you can go and put your own little spin on it. But honestly, these are really, really powerful. Like the biggest fear is becoming invisible and undesirable to her husband. This is for a metabolic reset. As someone who's written in this market, like extensively and read tons and tons of books and really like looked through it, this really is one of the biggest fears that this market has in those exact words. So it does a really, really good job. And then all you need to do is copy this. Okay, I already did this, but copy it, put it in a doc like this, and then I would come download, and I would just download this as a TXT file. You can do it as a PDF or a doc, but TXT file is good. Okay, so that's the foundation. Later on, we're gonna go through this whole like workflow in a second. You'll see how fast we can generate this stuff. But for now, that's the first step. Okay, so build a better buyer, and here's the link. Here's an example from the copywriter. Okay, so now that we have this avatar, the next thing to start thinking about is looking at these different systems, which we're going to call these buying agendas. That's something I got from the Nick Lucas guy that I mentioned earlier, which is a really great way for me to connect these this affective neuroscience stuff, which is stuff I've been trying to find the connecting piece and really help to connect those, right? So that's not my language, but I loved it so much. It just worked really well. So each of these guys here, each of these people living inside of you have a specific agenda, right? One of them wants to just go have fun and play. The other one is a scared little boy. The other one wants to get his freak on. And you got to basically kind of work all of them together. So the question you want to start asking is, let's go back to our to this woman here. Okay, so this is for a metabolic reset. Name is Melanie, 51, female, average income around 65,000. Core problem is uncontrollable menopausal weight gain that doesn't respond to diet and exercise like it used to. Stubborn fat, especially around the belly. These are these emotions, the biggest fears, etc. The question that we want to ask is, which one of these buying agendas, right? Which one of these systems is going to be relevant to this avatar that we can trigger, and which ones are going to be kind of in opposition to it, right? So looking at these agendas here, which one of these, let's say that we're talking about Melanie. This is the core problem here. Let me ask you guys, look, which one of these agendas or systems do we think are most primed to be triggered if we're trying to sell some sort of product? Okay. So Mark says lover, we have protector, we have fear, we have doctor, we have nurturer. Yeah. So all of these are interesting. The protector is probably around like, I'm worried about my health, okay, and dying. That everything that we know about marketing is present problems always are way stronger than future problems. Okay, so the protector, I would say, is relevant, but probably lower down there. The lover, which is about like, you know, resource and mating and whatever. This is maybe for an older market, but as far as that bond and that connection is concerned, this is definitely relevant, right? They're worried about not being attractive. They're worried about losing that bond with their husband or their spouse. And I would say the nurture and the care system is really, really strong. Okay. It's strong in a female market. It's strong, especially for women. And the nurture is really what creates that social bond. And so feeling invisible, feeling like they're not relevant is a really, really big one. This is the one that's probably the strongest. Okay. And then you can have some around the disgust, although this one is really, really like visceral. It's really, really around like disease avoidance and stuff like that. But here's the cool thing. I actually came up with this here, which is a great prompt that will allow you to take your buyer profile and it will give you a ranking and scoring system that will show you which one of these agendas is most relevant, which ones you should focus on triggering. And it will also show you, hey, if there is another agenda that could be in conflict with this, it will show you, here's the one that you don't want to do. Okay, so let's play around with it. I will share this doc at the end because I'm a control freak. That's fine. All right, so all you need to do is let's take this metabolic reset. And all I did was I put this one prompt in here about the agenda, and we put this in here. And now we just watch the magic. And I encourage everyone to go through and read the prompts. You'll get a lot of value from reading the prompts and the structures, right? The cool thing about these prompts is like it really forces you to put your ideas down on paper in the clearest form, fashion, or clearest way you can. So here's what it looks like. It will basically create a scoring matrix for these different buying agendas. It'll tell you how relevant they are. It'll tell you the intensity. It'll tell you the likelihood of action. It will tell you the fit with the product or service, and it will tell you any sort of conflicting agendas. All right, now take this with a grain of salt. It does a really, really good job. It's pretty much 100% on target, and it adds up a score for you. But use your brain and make sure there's nothing crazy that's on there. So basically, it said the nurturer, the doctor, and the lover, which is almost exactly what we said it would be, right? The nurturer is probably the biggest point. The doctor is on there as well, and the lover. And then it will go through some of this. This summary is really what you need to pay attention to. So based on the analysis of Melanie's buyer profile, the top buying agendas to prioritize are the nurture, the doctor, and the lover. These agendas align with her core values, desires, and the primary transformation she seeks, etc. So become healthier and more energetic to be there for her family, feel more attractive and confident, leading to a better relationship with her husband, overcome her frustrations and insecurities related to menopausal weight gain. Okay. So what you need to focus on is this part down here. Okay. So much so that I would just copy and paste that because we're going to use that a little bit later. And I have the workflow all written out for you guys. So you'll get a chance to check that out. Okay, but let's put that on here. So now we understand these buying agendas, we understand how they relate to emotions, and we understand how those relate to attention. Then we basically built our buyer profile using AI, and now we've identified these are the core agendas that we need to trigger. Okay. And here's another example of a matrix. And again, I want to emphasize that this is what's beneath the emotion. Okay. It's the desire to be there for her family, to be a good role model, to be there for her kids. That is the main core motivator that's underneath and going to drive all the emotion. The faster that we can trigger that through the words we say, the audio we play, and the visuals that we present, the faster we're going to be able to get this attention. And this is what's so cool about this. It literally is a formula for getting attention almost every single time. Okay. There's some stuff that's going to be outside of our control that you just have to test and see. But if you follow this system, your chances of capturing attention is like really, 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 really high, like extremely, extremely high. Okay, I had to put a gun in here because that's fun. How do we systematically trigger these buying beliefs? And David says, how do we mix this with curiosity and the 7 things that we showed us? Perfect question. It's almost like you're a plant in the comments to queue up what's about to come. Because that's the answer to this question, is how do we systematically trigger those buying beliefs? All right, and I'm going to show you how. So I want you to imagine, I don't know if anyone's ever played this game. It's called the maze game. Okay. And the way it works is you have a bunch of people and you have to walk on a square. And then all you can do is you can, walk forward, you can go right, or you can go diagonal, or you can go right, you can do whatever. If you get it, nothing happens. And if you go on the wrong square, you get a buzz and you have to go back. Okay. And so what you need to do is basically figure out, without any instructions, by trial and error, how you're going to go from one end of this to the other. One end of this to the other. This right here is the exact position. This is it's a metaphor, but this is the exact position that every single one of those buying agendas, each one of those characters that live within you. I don't know why there's fucking balloons, but cool. Each one of those characters within you, this is the exact situation that they're put in. We live in a complex world with imperfect information, and we're just trying to go from one end to the other. That's their agenda. The lover is trying to go from here to reproduction. The nurturer is trying to go from here to increasing the amount of care and everything that happens. Okay, so what sort of questions would you start to ask if you're trying to figure out how to fucking cross this maze, go from one end of this to the other, right? I'm going to really push this metaphor, and you're going to see something hilarious in a second. But this right here is the exact position that all of those buying agendas are in. Because they're all in those positions and trying to go from pain to pleasure, or from a little bit of pleasure to more pleasure, they all call upon our big friend, Mr. Seeker. Okay, we all remember the Seeker? And the Seeker is all about trying to figure out information that will make it easier to go from this end to the other end. That's it. That's his job. I'm going to figure out how to go from here to there. And so some of the things that he might be interested in getting is this. Okay? The 7 weirdest ways to solve the maze game. The big maze secret agenda. Okay, that one's a little crazy. But the hidden science behind the maze. The #1 mistake people make solving the maze. Challenging strangers to the maze. Letting $400 save the maze game. Solve the maze game. Ancient Tibetan maze trick. Takes 7 seconds. How to solve the maze in 10 seconds every time. Why lower IQ people do better on the maze. Solve the maze with this toothbrush, or why solving the maze is like baking bread. Okay, these are absurd examples, but I just want to show you, these are just different ways to package that you have some sort of piece of information or hidden advantage that's going to help your buying agenda go from one end of the start of the maze to the end of the maze. Okay. Is this metaphor landing for everyone? Does it make sense where I'm going with this? Okay, cool. Hopefully it does. Good. And so, like I said, you have to trigger the explorer and the seeking system. When you want to get someone's attention, especially when you're talking about social media, especially when you're talking about emails, especially when you're talking about the world that we live in, digital marketing, which is all about basically all you got is the eyes and the ears, right? And text to play with the mind. You need to be able to trigger this explorer seeking system to create different kinds of hooks and different kinds of ideas that are going to make people start looking for these systems. Okay, so you can solve the maze. That's the answer to the maze, in case everyone was wondering. I just drew it on Canva, so that's it. This is why curiosity is the most important element for capturing attention. And I know that everyone knows that, right? I've been told that over and over and over again. But I always wondered, I was like, why is curiosity so important? Well, curiosity is so important is because all of your emotions are built on those different buying agendas staying within you. And all of those buying agendas want to go from pain to pleasure. And all of them, basically imagine them in a room. They're all looking at Mr. Seeker here and saying, bro, you need to go find the information that's going to allow me to go from pain to pleasure. Okay. And those systems are activated. So if you can create a hook, a visual hook, an auditory hook, a text hook, something that's going to convey, hey, I'm going to help you, Mr. Buying Agenda, go from pain to pleasure, solve that maze because I have some sort of secret information. Now you have the seeker and you have whatever sort of buying agendas you want, and the emotions are activated. right? So that's basically all that, you know, you hear about what a hook is. That's what a hook does. A hook blends the curiosity with this little dimension here to create something that people have to just pay attention to. It literally is attention hacking. Cool. So how do we do this? Well, I have given you a master list of hooks that you can go through. I'm going to continue to update this and put a lot of things on there. I guess I can show you. Yes, we can go through it. So here's a master list of hooks that you can use. And you'll see that they're all organized into 10 different categories. The biggest categories that I will point out to you guys, and once you know these categories, you're going to start seeing them just everywhere. And you'll be able to be like, oh, there's that. Oh, there's that on a VSL or anything that people do. Some of the biggest ones here are puzzles. So the brain just loves these little puzzles. It engages them and thinks, hey, yeah, you'll get access to all these documents. It just engages you when it's like, hey, if I solve this puzzle, I'm going to get some sort of answer. So certain kinds of questions, quizzes, we all know that quiz leads work all the time. You know, there's some videos floating around there of that Mario and I did around, you know, and whole VSLs, like whole multi-million-dollar VSLs were built on these quizzes. Paradoxical questions, I cannot emphasize these enough. Like if you go and look in Stefan's RMBC, there's a section around paradoxical questions. I always ignored it because I was like, it's kind of a nice to have. Until we started working together, and especially on the agency, we went crazy with paradoxical questions, right? Again, Prodentin is built on this question. Why are these 100-year-old teeth buried in the dirt healthier than most people's teeth that are in our mouths with all of our modern dentistry, right? That one question, that one little idea, that one little hook built a huge fucking offer, right? There's so many other elements that you have to put in, but if that hook and that idea was not figured out, that offer would not work. Okay, and there's tons of other ones on here. The other one is what I call the what makes the difference. Okay, and you can go and look. We have other trainings on these, but the what makes the difference is the Wall Street Journal ad, the $1 billion ad, right? There's these two guys. They have the same education, same upbringing, same whatever. One of them is successful, and the other one is just, you know, is just average. So what makes the difference? Well, the Wall Street Journal, right? But we use this all the time. We use it on the pet health VSL. These two dogs are the same breed, the same age, same diet, same whatever. So what makes the difference between these? You can see it all over. In fact, one of the most viral videos that I found from on a shorts is a guy, he's sitting there, and right here is playing two videos, and he says, these two videos are the exact same. But when the second one was posted, it got 75 million views, right? So what was the difference? It's a template that works every single time. And the guy who made it basically said, he said, I know when I post that, I just change out the two different videos. And he said, I will go viral every single time without fail, because that's how basic and rudimentary these emotions are. It's just like a formula. Once you crack it, repeat, 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 repeat. So I want you to, you know, when you go through this, pay attention to the puzzles one. The other one is pay attention to patterns. Our brains are primed to look for patterns. In fact, they're so primed to look for patterns that we're actually biased. It's one of those cognitive biases that we have, right? It's why we can look in a cloud and see a face. It's because we're so focused on these patterns. So some of these are like these odd connections. This is a John Benson one, right? This is a fish. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how this fish will help you get laid. Okay. Another one, like, you know, using a toothbrush to clean jewelry, or the metaphor connection, right? From the Arthur-zine one that I did, unlikely inspirations, etc. So there's a bunch on here. They're organized. You have this whole list, and you can play around with these. Okay. The other one actually also is, it's called Insight. Okay, which is, it's kind of more of a fundamental. It's a pattern, but it's a fundamental belief. Okay, so digging into like people's worldview. So the science behind expert insights, myth busting, perspective shift, hidden influences, the secret history, etc. There's tons of hooks on here you can test over and over and over again. All right, but we're not done, because I'm not just going to give you a list of hooks. That's just for fun, because everyone likes to have lists of hooks. But the reality is most people have a shit ton of lists of hooks. I know I do, and I never do anything with them because, you know, human nature. So what I'm going to give you is, ta-da, some fun little prompts that you can use that will generate this for you, and I will show you. Before we get into that, we'll just point out some different common features of these hooks that are in there. Storytelling, the curiosity, information gap. It needs to be new and have contrast to it, and there need to be stakes and urgency. Okay, these are what make a compelling hook. Stuff that you've heard before, but I just wanted to kind of point out some of those different features. All right, who wants to see the prompt? Let's go through it. All right, so here is a mega prompt. Mario thinks he's the master of the mega prompt. Not anymore, because this thing is 5,500 words. I think I broke a
Holy
new
shit.
record. 5,500 word prompt, mostly because it's just a ton of examples.
That was
Okay.
longer than the sales letter to get people here today.
Yeah, you get a prompt that's worth 5,500 words. Okay. And all you need to do, though, is copy and paste this. And then you put your buying agenda on here. And the other thing that I would add is I would also kind of upload your the buyer avatar as well. You can play with it or without. Now, the thing with this prompt is because it's 5,500 words, it's only going to work on the Poe version of GPT-4 or Claude with a 200K context window. All right, I'm just going to show you real quick how it works, but I have a workaround for that as well. So you'll see that in a second. But if you wanted to, you could just come in here. I'm going to use this one, Claude 3 Opus 200K. You only have so many messages, and I've burnt through the majority of them preparing this, but here's that. I'm going to come in here and get my my buying agenda. Here's that. And I'm going to download, I think I already did, this little guy. Okay, and we will let him rip. Okay, and it will kind of go through some of these different ones on here. Some of these are going to be weird, right? By 2030, hormone balancing we recognize is the most effective way. That's probably not one that you want to use. Doesn't really make any sense in here. But there's some really good ones on here. Watch me implement this 30-day metabolic reset protocol, see how much weight I lose, without giving up my favorite foods. Or my sister and I are doing this. Or today I'm going to show you how to make a fat burning elixir at home. Okay, how 10 minutes a day doing this, whatever. And it continues to go through a lot of these on here. Now, when I was going through this, I was kind of happy with these. I mean, these are pretty sick, right? What do an avocado, sleep mask, and pair of walking shoes have in common? Well, they're 3 unlikely tools that help me finally lose my menopausal muffin top for good. That's pretty good. That one would kind of work. Or what I learned from interviewing a 72-year-old bikini competitor about, staying slim after menopause. Or number 1 exercise mistake that's preventing you from losing menopausal weight and what to do instead. I'm grilling the author of this book on her controversial counterintuitive protocol, or the top 5 menopause myths. Like, all of these are pretty good, but they weren't like amazing to me. And I wanted to make them amazing. So that's what we're going to do. So instead of using that big master prompt, which despite the context window being so big for Claude, it can do it, I found it's actually better to break it down a little bit more. So what I did was I took this doc and created separate prompts just for each one of these categories. So let's say, for instance, you really wanted to do something around the puzzles. Well, all you got to do is take this. You can use regular Claude 3 or GPT. You can put this buying agenda in here. Pop him in. And now you're going to get hooks that are specific to that category. Okay, if you find a certain category works well. Okay, which impacts menopause systems more, soy products or lack of sleep? Which one of these worsens hot flashes? Why do some menopausal women gain weight even while eating less? These 2 women are the same age, similar lifestyles. One struggles with menopausal systems while the other doesn't. Why? These women have the exact same workout routine, but can't lose the menopausal belly. Why? Well, it's not just about calories burned. Which of these nutrients are crucial during menopause? What's more important for this? Right, it's kind of repeating itself here, but you can use any of these that you want, and you'll get some pretty cool hooks on here. And in a second, you're going to see we're going to make them even better. But is everyone following for that so far? You can use either the master list of hooks that I'll give you. You can use the master prompt that I gave you, or you can just break it down and kind of choose the category that you want to go after, okay, to generate these different hooks. And remember, it's very, very subtle, but all of these hooks are directly related to those specific buying agendas that we identify: the nurturer, the doctor, and the lover. So we know that they're going to trigger those agendas. But let's go a little bit deeper. One other thing I'm going to share with you here are just some bonus ones that I did. Some of you have seen them before and had access to them. This is a viral hook prompt that I made for some of the short form content that I was doing, and it works pretty well. I would say, honestly, this might even be good for creating ads, because it puts things in like really good like copy format. So it's a pretty cool hook. You can play around with it. It's extra. You don't need it for this process, but I just wanted to share it with you because I was playing around with it. I was like, oh, this one is pretty good. So I'm going to give it to them. And then some of you guys have seen this as well, but this is basically a hook that will write you stuff in the style of Jenny Hoyos. If you don't know who she is, she's like mastered YouTube shorts and just goes crazy with these 30-second videos. And this one will write you some amazing prompts as well. And then it'll also write you a script for part 2. Let me delete all this because I don't think that's relevant. Yes, that's the 18-year-old YouTuber. I gotta fix this. All right, well, just ignore all that other stuff down below. Jenny Hoyos here. And this is cool. Like, this is just random. I've talked about this before, but like, she literally just went through, I just went through the YouTube video and took the transcript where she was telling about her process. And I put it in Claude and I said, okay, like, here's the transcript, give me her process. And it was like, well, here's the process, cool. And then I went to her videos and I took some of the examples of her top performing videos. And it took me maybe 20-25 minutes to make this prompt. And there's also a, some of you guys have access to this, but is this one, which has like over 1,000 different views. And I'll share it with you, but you could do this for anything you want, right? Like, it basically has the prompt in this custom GPT, and you could say like, let's do it about menopausal weight gain. Okay, so you can play around with it. The problem with ChatGPT is sometimes the outputs are inconsistent. When I use Poe, it works pretty much all the time, but a lot of these are good as well. Cool. All right, but I want to go a little bit deeper on here. And this is one that actually I didn't think it was going to be the best one, but it was something that I'm calling attention clusters. Okay. Because if you look at hooks and getting attention, it's not just about nailing the one idea. It's about the packaging of that idea. And it's also about quickly setting the context and also setting the promise, right? So one of the big mistakes that Mario can attest to this too, when you're going to look at like copywriters leads, let's look at the classic pig punch in the gut story, right? The old Chris Haddad thing. The big mistake that people do is they'll start with this crazy story, like, I'm on fire or something, right? Like something ridiculous. And then it'll just keep going in the story, right? It's like, and then this happened and this happened and this happened. And even though you got their attention right in the beginning with something dramatic, you quickly lose them because you're not setting the context and you're not setting the stakes of what's at stake, as well as what's going to be promised to the reader. And it's a very, very subtle art because in that first few seconds, you need to be able to say, here's something attention grabbing. Here's why it's important. Okay, all the context you need. And then here is, here's what you're going to get from continuing to watch this. And you need to be able to do those in rapid succession with the most economy of words possible, right? The shortest that you can do. It really is an art and it's hard to do. And so that's what I call attention clusters. Okay, so instead of, the way I see it is instead of just one hook, it's a cluster of hooks together that you know you're really grabbing them. Okay, you get immediate attention and then you quickly follow up with a bunch of other things that grip them. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in here. Okay, so here's another big long prompt, and I encourage you to read through it because you'll probably learn a lot about attention and different ways to set it up. But the basic thing is you're going to have 3 elements, which is the hook, the setup, and the promise. So the hook is going to be one of these things on here. And then you're going to create the setup, and then you're going to create the promise. When you have those 3 things together, you have a really good attention cluster that's just going to grip people. So let me see. Any of these hooks stand out to you guys that we can use? Would you be able to enjoy again if menopause wasn't holding you back? That one is good. I think that would be really good for short form. I'm going to use one that's a little like punchier. Let me see. Funny. Yeah, I think 19 is kind of cool. Yeah, I do like 19. Okay, so we're going to take 19. And we're going to take this attention clusters on here. Good. Oh, where'd he go? Yeah, I do like twin sisters. But for the sake of this, I'm going to change it. I'm going to keep it the same. Okay, so you can keep going with this. Now, again, you need to make sure that like what you're promising actually like works and makes sense. And then sometimes you should read some of my conversations with Claude because I've been having quite a few over the last few days. And I was basically yelling at it because I was like, one thing it will do is it'll say stuff like, I'll demonstrate the 60-second ice breath, right? And I wouldn't want to say that in any of the hooks that I would write. Okay, I'd want to be like, and here's the 60-second. I want to make it more conversational. And I just kept yelling at it and being like, why do you keep doing that? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then it would write something really, really good. And then I try to put it in the prompt and it wouldn't work all the time. But there's some pretty cool stuff on here. Okay, so it's just taking that same hook and iterating on it, which again, sometimes you land a banger with the hook and you just need to play with the iteration to really squeeze as much as you can out of it. But something like this, right? These twin sisters are going through menopause at the same time, but one has terrible hot flashes while the other doesn't. Key is a little known hormone balancing technique that actually involves tapping specific points in your body. I'm going to show you the menopause tapping sequence that eliminates hot flashes under 2 minutes anytime, anywhere. Like it's pretty gangster for anything that you want to do, right? You could do this with short form, you could do this with long form, you could do it with organic, you could do it with paid, you could do it with whatever you want on here as well. The other thing too, I'll show you is all I did on this one was put the hook, but you can also put the hook and the buying belief. So let's see how that changes it real quick. Brad, there'll be some time at the end where we can actually go through that because I want to use it for some of the people on this call. So you can see. So now I added the buying belief as well to the bottom of this. And it's moving a little bit away from the hook, but I actually like that, right? Because a lot of these are really, really cool as well. 90-second morning, even the most brutal menopause symptoms. Cool. So adding in these buying beliefs in here took it a little bit away from the original hook, but it's actually giving us a lot of other cool stuff as well. And so I see this pretty much enriches the hooks that you have. All right, so while that's going, I want to talk real quick about this attention jacking. It's something that there's just not enough time on this call to go through it, which is why you're going to see it in part 2, which I'll talk about later. And attention jacking is the reason why it's hard to explain is because in order to really understand what this is and how it works is you have to understand attention economy, right? Which is all about supply and demand of attention. Which is pretty simple. It just takes a little bit to really like crack it. But attention jacking is so simple. It's just basically look at what's trending right now. Okay, like the eclipse, right? Or that's what was trending. And you're just riding those waves of attention and connecting it back to whatever you're doing. Okay, it's the easiest way to consistently go viral on any one of these platforms. Now, the trick with it is that, you know, on short form, there's let's say organic content. There's very, very little risk to getting attention on that way. One is, you know, the best copywriters in the world are really, really good at making loose connections, like really, really good. That's the creative side. Okay, so how do you connect, you know, the eclipse to menopause? It can be done. You can connect the eclipse to day trading. You connect the eclipse to copywriting. It can be done. Okay, so what I want to do on the part 2 of this is create a little engine that will help you to make those connections between what's trending in real time, either in your niche or outside your niche, and then what you're actually trying to communicate. There's always a way to put a unique spin on these things, okay? It's really good for short form organic, not great for ads because ads are, you want them to last a little bit longer, and also not that great for long form because long form typically, organic content like YouTube, you have to spend more time investing in it. So it's kind of dangerous because you're going to have opportunity cost and wasted resources creating these videos without being able to catch that wave. Okay, but perfect for short form organic. And we'll be able to cover that more in the next one. Okay, so now we have these emotional or these attention clusters that I set on here. And let's go through and choose some of these. Any of these seem good to y'all? Mario, what do you think?
Sorry, I was writing copy in the chat. Can't help myself. People seem to like 13 the best.
All right, cool. 13 works. Okay, so now we have our words and we have endless amounts of these, right? I just want everyone to remember, like these are 20 different iterations from one hook out of about 40, which were taken from just one category out of 10. Okay, so that basically means that just with this process alone, without even asking it to do anything else, we have 8,000 different hooks, right? 10 categories, 40 different outputs for each one, and then each of those turns into 20. That's 8,000 different outputs, right? Different hooks that you can test and move from there. So that's pretty powerful. Now, that is only one part of getting attention, which is the actual idea and then the words that you use to communicate that idea. That's it. The other part is we want to be able to come up with images. Okay, because we all know that images, just like those eyes hanging above, very unconscious, we're able to stimulate an emotion. And we want that emotion to be congruent with the text. One of the most important things that I learned from everyone when I was really like kind of diving in and starting to learn is that clarity, I say this all the time, clarity is always king. Copywriters make a really big mistake by getting too fancy and trying to be too curiosity invoking and doing whatever, and they lose clarity. I would always rather something be clear than be cute, right? Or be good. Just, it needs to be clear. And the same thing goes for the images and the visuals. Like, it can't be close enough. Your image needs to be directly related to the text or to the hook, right? The idea, the concept that you're creating, it needs to have like a one-to-one correlation, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, what I have in here is a really cool little workflow that will help you come up with some awesome images, as well as some really, really basic animations that you can use for ads. You can use it for anything else. Now, we're going to use images, but just understand that this image could be the start of a video. It could be for a thumbnail, whatever the entry point is for the platform that you're using. Use this image as just a representation of like the visuals that you're going to want to use. Does that make sense? Also, Mario, what was that that little short form one tool that you used where it was like you had like the British voice?
Asa.ai.
Asa.ai. Yeah, I might play around with that in a second too. I was trying to remember it, but
That shit was funny.
I forgot it. Okay, so what's cool about this one is this is going to take the hook that you have, and it's basically going to come up with images that are congruent with it and convey the same kind of emotion that you want it to convey. Okay, so let's start with 13 here. Again, I'm going to go back and use Claude 3. Yeah, honestly, Joshua, that's exactly what I want to do. Okay, let me fix this real quick. I told it to include some of these positive emotional primes and negative emotional primes, stuff that we know stimulate different kinds of emotions. So that's why there's a baby. Where is it? There's a baby in the moon outside the window. I mean, honestly, you could do that stuff. There's some pretty fun subliminal AI stuff, but to me, that's a little too on the nose. So I'm gonna have it reset. I don't want little weird babies in the moon. All right.
That's super interesting later though. Not the baby, just the little hidden image shit in general.
Okay, so you have some different ideas on here. Now, we're about to do a speed run through Midjourney and Runway, and we're going to do a speed run through a lot of this stuff, okay? And DALL-E. Just know you can come back and watch this video. And like I mentioned, Rory Flynn, he has some YouTube videos on hacking Midjourney. Watch those, and you can you'll be able to catch up on a lot of this stuff on here. But I'm going to show you real quick how to take this hook and then create something like super, super cool from this. All right. So first thing that we're going to do is any of these that we like in particular. I kind of feel like I like this one. We got 3 8s.
I think 8 is more realistic, or
Mary, you got any opinions?
So I was typing let's see. Menopause one, snake in the background. I kind of like 7. I think that's pretty good. 8, let's see. Just because you want to keep the baby out of it, right?
Yeah, no baby. All right, we can take this one. I just don't like the holding the menopause rescue blend, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that out. All right, and for this one, we're actually gonna use Chat GPT, Mr. Chat. And the reason why is when you're doing image prompting, one of the biggest things you can do is the fact that you have in ChatGPT, you have access to GPT-4 and DALL-E within the same model, and you can talk with the image is so powerful, right? It really allows you to laser in on the exact kind of image that you want.
Yeah.
So you could say, we're going to start with this.
Yeah, this makes things so much less frustrating and compared to like just hitting regenerate over and over when you have an image that you like 95% of the way, and then you just have to
Yes.
like now you
And
just
by the way, you'll see this process. Another thing you can do for this, we're going from scratch. Another thing you can do is once you have the idea in mind using the prompt, you can go look for something on a stock image. So it's like, it needs to be 2 women. And they need to be at the gym. So, and then what you can do is you can go to stock images and be like stock images 2 women at the gym. Okay. One tired, one not. So if you can find a stock image, or even if you can find the colors, the other one too that I really like is, let me see, shot list, shot deck. This is another really cool thing that you can do. What shot deck does is it takes shots from popular movies. So if you have a style or a brand that you're trying to replicate and you just can't figure out how to prompt it, you can come on here. I don't know where the I gotta log in. So for instance, I would have to sign up again, but like, let's say you love Wes Anderson and you want to replicate his style. You can go and you can find it. And then when you click on it, it will give you tons of different detail about the camera lens, the type, the style, the mood. Literally take a screenshot of that, put it into Chat GPT and say, hey, create a prompt based on this image or based on these information. And you'll start to get some of the stylistic references and things like that that will work. Will work for you. Okay, try it again, please. See, I knew 8 was wrong. I knew 8 was wrong. All right, we're gonna go 6. It's the wrong one. So we'll try this one. Okay. Let's do yeah, I would say I think having this subscription with Poe will be helpful for sure. Very helpful. So because I'm having trouble with these images, and this is the problem, you have to go and talk back and forth with it. So we could do something like this. Close up a woman's face, split screen. One half is tired and has a lot of sweat. The other half is serene and peaceful. Okay, so while that's loading, I'll show you some of the other examples that were pulled up here. Okay, so this is kind of cool. I like it, right? It's looking direct at the camera. I would say make the left side look even more exhausted. Now we're getting a little bit better here. All right, so let's say that we wanted to go with something like this, okay, to kind of illustrate those two things. Now, some people are fine with DALL-E. They want to just use it. It works well for them. And in some instances, it's cool, right? You can make it look like cartoonish. You can do whatever. But I really like Midjourney. I think you get amazing output from Midjourney, and we can make this really, really good. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing you're going to do is you're going to download this. Okay, I'll show you why in a second. Second thing that you're going to do is you're going to come down here with this prompt. And what this is going to do is it's going to turn this image into a prompt that you can use in Midjourney. Okay, so once you get this image figured out composition-wise and it looks close enough to what you want, then you can turn it into a prompt that will look like something from Midjourney. Okay, sometimes it makes stuff up and it doesn't always work, but sometimes it gives you something that's pretty good. Right, so the next thing that you can do is you can come in here and you can say describe image. And then it will basically describe this image for you. Okay, and now you have all of these different ones on here. And so what you can do now is continue this process, and you're going to take this prompt here. Hopefully everyone is still following. You're going to take some of these describe prompts, like let's take one. And let's take two. And then we'll say come up with, 3 different variations. So this is a way to go from natural language to an image that we like to something that works pretty good. So let's say I copy this, come on to Discord. Now we can let it load. Okay, so I didn't quite get the message here. But so what we would do from here is like, I have to come in here and play around with it. This is the prompting on Midjourney takes a little bit of time. So what I probably have to do is really emphasize like, hey, these need to be split and move forward. But let me show you some of the other examples I was doing earlier so you can see some of this process. Okay, so let's say this is like an image that I pulled from DALL-E, right? Which was like a close-up of an eye. And then I basically played around with it a little bit more to create some of these eyes on here that I thought were pretty cool. And eventually I think I ended up with This image I thought was like pretty cool, like very attention grabbing. It's this close up of an eye. It's like a lot of cool stuff that you could do with this. Now, the next thing that I'm gonna show you that is important to know with images is that this looks cool, but it still looks, you know, a little bit fake, which is not always the worst. But what you can do is you can upscale it. So there's two things that you can use. One is Magnific and the other is Leonardo. I'm gonna put those in the chat. One is Magnific, the other is Leonardo. And what you can do with these is upscale the image. And it will, I guess I'll just show it here, how to do it. So come on here to the universal upscaler. I know for some of you guys, this may not be always like exactly what you want to use, but what it's going to do is going to create more texture and more photorealism for you. Okay, this is especially good for faces, right? A lot of those faces look very smooth when they come out of DALL-E or even Midjourney. And what it will do, Magnific and Leonardo, it's going to add more pores, more texture, more wrinkles, and make it look a lot more, just a lot more real. So I'm gonna let that scale real quick. While that is upscaling, I'm gonna mention animations and movement. Okay, so obviously if you have a static image, you can do some light animations on it. Let's say you're running an ad. And the reason why you do this is because movement captures attention. It's just, that's how we're primed. Okay, so even if you have a static image and you want to just create some light, you know, turn it into a little like video that has some light animation on it, that's another way to increase the attention that you can get from it. Okay, and so you can see the difference on here. As I move this thing across, you know, look at the detail in the pupil of the eye. You can see everything gets a lot more refined. And then you can upscale it again. You can play with some of those parameters on there. And then if I wanted to animate it, I would just come to Runway, log in here. And then what you could do is you can do a text image to video. And all you need to do is upload your image. So let's say I wanted to, I'll just do it with this one. You can choose a brush, this little motion brush here. And then you can choose certain things that you want to animate. Like even if I want to do these beads of sweat, you could do the eyes as well. Although it sometimes if the eyes are blinking, it looks kind of odd. But you can create light animations. Maybe it's the hair that's moving. That again will capture some attention, right? And then as you work through this entire workflow here, this emotional image workflow, you come out with a compelling visual as well as a compelling hook. So this is one that I thought was like pretty cool. The love language that your partner is secretly craving. So forget words of affirmation or quality time. This is the one thing that will make your partner feel truly desired. And I'll show you how to speak this love language fluently, even if you've never been a natural romantic. Okay, so this is something that, again, completely generated from AI. I just went from like target market and whatever. I followed the same process here, followed the same image formula, and ended up with something like this. Okay, which is definitely scroll stopping. And you could use this in any sort of format that you want. If you want to use this for short form, if you want to use this for long form, if you want to use it for an ad. But as far as just the raw idea, this idea that there's a love language your partner's secretly craving, very, very powerful one. Okay, here's a funny one. This image is kind of funny, but the shocking link between tennis balls and your dog's gut problem. You might think it's an innocent game, but the materials in tennis balls could wreak havoc on your pup's insides. There's a 60-second tennis ball safety test that could save your dog from a trip to the ER. If you have a dog and you hear something like that, like you're not going to watch it, you're not going to check it out a little bit more. And again, all of these are rooted in they're rooted in these buying agendas. Okay, so the whole buyer agenda for this dog one is all about, again, the nurturer, caring for the dog. That's the motivation behind it, right? So it triggers that immediately. It catches all of that detail. The picture triggers the buying agenda because the picture is taken directly out of this. Okay, and then some of the emotional cues that are put within the prompt help to create that as well. Right, but it's kind of, you know, you want to look at like what's going to create contrast, what's going to create everything else, but you start with the hook, you start with the idea, and then you can connect it to this image. And again, this image doesn't need to, you don't need to use this image. Like you could start by saying, hey, here's the shocking connection between this tennis ball and your dog's gut problem. Would be a great hook for any sort of like short form content that you want to do, anything like that. All right, so now we can go through these, and I want to do like a quick live example. We were kind of already doing it with the menopause one, but let's move through. We could pick a market. I have some different ones that we could go through on here, but I want to show you from beginning to end how we could create these like raw attention assets that we can use for any sort of format. So I'm happy to go through one of these examples unless someone has something on here that like is really, really good. Earwax removal. Okay. Is there you have a product for it, Mark? Microsuction. All right, it's kind of gross, but let's trigger the doctor. All right, let's go through it. Cool. Let me close out a bunch of these. Okay. Somebody set the timer, and we can see how long it takes to go from beginning to end. We're at 333. Great. Perfect number. So Mark, put in the chat this information here, target market and product. And if anyone else wants to help him with it, as we specify it, let's go through it. Dun, dun, dun. Jojo, I knew you had the timer going for sure. Okay. Oh, you have the whole thing. Let's start from the let's just this information, this target market. Do you have any like demographic information? Is it like a certain age? Is it more men, more women? And is the problem like is the problem the earwax, or is it like the problem is like they're not hearing well, or they feel like there's something wrong with their ears, or is the problem like they just actually want to get rid of earwax? Okay. Seniors over 60 with hearing loss due to earwax buildup. Okay, cool. And then the solution is you said microsuction, but how can we frame that? Okay. I think that's probably good enough. So now let's run this. Good old empathy. Claude wants to be empathetic. That's okay. Might run them on ChatGPT too to see if gives us something better. Yeah, I don't know what microselection is either, but daughter rolls her eyes and speaks to him in a condescending old person voice. Thanks. Yeah, I feel like the micro is probably people are worried about something that's like harsh in their ears. So the micro part makes it seem like it's very easy to use. Right, cool. All right, download that as the TXT file. Now let's move on to our buying agendas. So we'll take this guy. And we'll let that run. Cool. Seems to be doing pretty good. The doctor, the protector, the
Lit up the
nurturer.
doctor, yep.
Yeah. Hit the doctor right on.
Doctor's not in conflict with nobody either, is he?
No, he's not. Cool. And then, like I said, all you want to do is just copy everything below that matrix. The matrix is cool to look at, but you don't need it. So I'm going to take it here. Pop him down. Awesome. Now, what I want to use for the hook is, let's pick a category. Or what do you think? Do we want to use the big hook prompt? Yeah, let's use the big one. Let's use the big guy. $16 pages. Good. As long as I have a longer prompt than Mario, that's all that matters. The whole purpose of this call.
I'm gonna keep.
Don't try to come with some 10,000 word.
I'm gonna keep all my shit to like 100 words tomorrow. It's all about efficiency now. You gotta pivot.
Okay. Cool. So we're using this big one. And for that, we're going to pop it in here. We're going to take this guy. Font measuring contest. Yeah. I'm gonna put that in DALL-E, see what it comes up with. Okay, and I'll put this avatar. Having a bunch of Google Docs open to plug the prompts into AI. To be honest, like, there's two ways, right? So you can have a prompt that's like done and you just use it. And I use that from like Build a Buyer. I would use that like in a Google Doc because you can use a custom GPT. I just found the outputs are not that good. Yeah, the clock's running. We got time. The outputs are really not that good when you use a custom GPT. That's why I like to use Poe. I'm going to work on some different automations, hopefully by the next one, that will just, you start it and it will just, string the prompts together. The problem with that is that it's hard to choose. If one of the prompts messes up, then the output you're going to get at the end is shit. So I like to just use the Google Docs. And then honestly, the biggest way, like for everyone on here, is if you really want to get good at these tools, just like hang out with them, talk to them, ask them questions, like try to break them. Most of the insights you get, like there was a Sam Altman podcast and they asked Sam Altman, like, what's the best use of GPT-4 that you've seen? And he said people who just start their workflow with using AI, like start using it. Even in preparing this presentation, I would ask it, I would say, here's an idea of what I want to do. I have no idea how to structure this, right? And it helped me even come up with prompts. I'm like, I don't know how to structure a prompt. And it would be like, well, I'll do it like this and try it like this. So having that conversation is by far, to me, the highest leverage use of these tools. And second below that is using these prompts, right, in a workflow like this. All right, so here are these different ones. Let's read through them and choose one that we like. Hearing aids are a scam. It's a much better solution. I'm trying out this earwax removal, asking strangers what they think about this new hearing solution. I challenged myself to go without Q-tips for a month and use this kit instead. Here's how it went. That one's pretty good. I tried every OTC remedy for my earwax. Huge mistake. Here's what worked. What's the one thing you should never put in your ear? The answer may surprise you. Well, really, I don't put a lot of shit in my ear. Let's see. Why do ears get worse at cleaning themselves as we age? The reason is shocking. That one I know will crush. Like, that one will crush. What does scuba diving and microsuction ear cleaning have in common? More than you think. Could be good, but assumes that they know what microsuction ear cleaning is. How a chance encounter with a beekeeper changed how I deal with my earwax. Fun. You won't believe what this common dental tool was originally invented for. Hint, not teeth. That one is money. Number one mistake. That's a classic. Cool. And what's good is if you run this prompt and you see like, oh, all the new information ones are like really good, then you can go and run the prompt specific for that one and get those outputs.
And when you guys go through this, like think visually too, because a lot of like it's not just the words. Some of these prompts, like if you're going to test a lot of leads, like look into what's going to be there visually, because then you can put together like really short videos with just AI images that are going to grab attention as well. Like the beekeeper one could be like a pretty cool slideshow.
Okay, so which one do we think looks good?
The no Q-tips for a month is pretty interesting to me.
All right. Cool. I like it. So I'm going to take this here. And we will move on to the next one, which are these attention clusters. Okay. And again, I recommend two ways of doing this. One is just putting the hook itself. Okay. And the second one is we'll run it with the hook and the buyer's belief and see what the outputs are. Remember, the hook that we got itself is directed from the buying belief, so it's already embedded in there. And when you add this in there, it will go a little bit, it'll stray a little bit from the original hook, which is cool. It just gives you more variety of things to play around with. So a lot of these are really, really good. I wanted to stray just because I'm a creative person and I love seeing new ideas and new angles for shit. So I thought I was cleaning my ears safely with Q-tips. I was dead wrong. So something like that is cool. Gross reason I finally ditched Q-tips after 30 years of daily use. When I saw the gunk this kit pull out of my ears, I nearly gagged. I'll show you the microscopic creatures living in my earwax and how to fix them for good. I went off the rails a little bit on there. But I do like this one a lot. Let's see.
We really picked a nice wholesome topic for this, huh?
Yeah, something really good. Just wait till we get to the images. something like this. I quit using Q-tips for a month and tried this weird, ear cleaning kit instead. But at the end of the challenge, I could hear sounds I never even knew existed. And I'll
Okay.
reveal the 3 hidden dangers of Q-tips that make you toss them in the trash immediately. That's pretty good. That will, someone in this market that should get their attention. If not, well, my bad. All right, so we take it. Here we go to emotional image workflow. Anybody who's queasy, you might want to pause for a little bit. So now we're going ChatGPT. Yeah, just go down one by one. And again, it's like, this is just to give you a workflow because people like it, right? But once if you know copy, if you know how these things work, you can go outside the box, right? You don't have to follow it step by step. But if that's all you did was follow it step by step, like all I'm doing is copy and pasting from 2 sentences, and I could end up with 8,000 different hooks. Okay, you could have a VA run this process and just come up with tons of different stuff. And I'm going to try to automate some of it. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but come up with a lot of stuff on it. Okay, see you, Win. Actually, what you want to do, I just remembered. Here's where I messed up. Let's put that in here. Okay, close of a human ear with a Q-tip lodged deep inside, surrounded by a dark, ominous background. A split screen image showing a smiling baby. I think I got to eliminate the baby thing on this one. It was working before, but the smiling baby is starting to make me feel uncomfortable. Okay, Mozart and Beethoven holding a cleaning kit.
9 could be pretty good if it's like a weird looking thing on the other side. If the cleaning kit's too obvious, then probably not as good. But
the split screen one is cool. The thing is, these image generators have trouble doing a split screen. So you could do it. You just have to do it in 2 parts.
Yep.
So we could say, okay, let's say make him older.
this is where the runway glowing red ear thing would probably come in handy too, right?
I think we talked, I have it on here, about visual hierarchy. Yeah. That this is where the eye tracks. It goes from movement to focus to the difference to brighter to bigger to in front. You can throw this into ChatGPT too to be like, hey, I need the focus to be on the ear and it needs to be brighter and bigger and in front. So it understands. Like that's probably pretty good. All right, so let's just rock with that. And then what we do is 2 different things. We're going to take this one here, put it into chat, and it will analyze that prompt. At the same time, it's a little redundant, but this is what helps us get the best output. is we're going to use the describe function in Discord, which I know everyone in here loves. Pop it in. And then we'll get that description. Okay. And with these images, what you got to do is you just got to play around with it. So I'm going to try exactly what ChatGPT gave me. And let that load. And then I'm going to take this one that Midjourney says and use this second prompt on here that basically says, hey, blend your prompt with this one. I don't know. We got Sister Teresa flipping us off. So where the fuck did my Q-tip go? Yeah. What happened? All right, this looks better. Probably need an older man, but she's not even using a Q-tip. This guy's putting Q-tips in his eyes. So here's what we're gonna do. Oh yeah, Lauren, actually smart. So let's do this too. So one other thing you can do is if you just upload this and pop him in, and then you can copy this link and you can still use this prompt. And then we can say image weight. I forgot what it is now. I'm gonna just put it as 50. Oh, okay. It's got to be between. So image weight, basically what we did was we just took this and then we put that link in here. So it's going to reference it more closely. And then you can basically, the image weight is anywhere from 0 to 3, and it will tell you how much you want it to be, like how close you want it to be towards it. And since I like at least the framing of this, because that looks really like brutal and intense, I put that pretty high. Let's do variations on 4.
This guy has terrible hand-eye coordination.
Keeps poking himself in the eye. Okay. All right, so I like 4 is not perfect, but like he's kind of bleeding out of the side of his head, but and let's do this. Okay, but let's just say that we wanted to use this one, right? We're getting closer to it. We're gonna save it. And I'm gonna see if this one gives us anything else that's better. Yes, it is a case of messing around with it, for sure.
This is the extra time you get when you're able to generate 8,000 hooks in 5 minutes, whatever that was. Get to play around with images too.
Okay. None of those did a whole lot better. See, JoJo's keeping me honest. All right, let's pop him in. Let's say that we liked this guy. No, I have to get some more tokens. So anyway, what you do, you pop him in here, and then you can upscale him, and then you can put it in runway as well. But let's just say we want to end with this guy. We can say yes, Bradley. Although Magnific is probably better. It's expensive. So if you're not using it a lot, then it'd be that.
Yeah,
Cool.
doctor back there.
Yeah,
That guy looks like
definitely.
that guy looks like he's been through some shit. This guy.
So here we go. Again, this is now the format. We can change the format depending on what we're doing, right? Is this a short form video? Is it a long form video? Stuff that we can cover. But just as far as like getting attention immediately, again, we started from those 2 different sentences, and this is pretty solid. And it's just one of literally thousands that we could pull from.
Yeah, you go from that to like a Facebook ad to an advertorial. That's pretty good right there.
Yep. Super solid. And again, what you want to do is let's pop it on here. Forget these images. These are just some other sort of images. But if you want to use if you wanted to do an ad, what would I do? Well, I'd probably use more, it depends on where the ad is running, but you want to make sure that it's like really direct to your problem. So there's a couple different things to keep in mind. When you're creating attention, when you're using an ad, the attention that you're getting needs to be as close to the landing page and the product that you're getting. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of people clicking on your link. They're going to be going to your page, not buying, and the algorithm is going to start to give you worse and worse quality people. It's going to fuck with you. So you want to make sure that your attention is very narrow on exactly what you're targeting. Okay, it needs to be. Otherwise, you're going to mess up with the algorithm. For short form, you actually want to go extremely broad. David, give you examples of what? Like a direct ad. So like, for instance, this one would be fine as an ad to like an advertorial because we're talking about an ear cleaning kit. Okay. But this person, this avatar has a lot of different buying agendas that are operating at the same time. Okay, so this person may also be worried about some other sort of adjacent health problem, right? Like something else with the ear or something else with hearing, or they might be concerned about stuff with the grandkids. You can still capture their attention. You can capture this avatar's attention by talking about a lot of different stuff. But when you're creating an ad, you want the attention that you get to be very specific to the problem and solution that you're selling. Okay, and so I'll give you a different example. For short form, you want to go extremely broad. In fact, to the point that if you look at the highest performing videos on TikTok and Shorts, they actually have no language in them, no speaking, because just by putting it in English or putting it in Chinese, you're cutting off billions and billions of potential viewers, right? You want to go as broad as possible. You literally want to think like, how can this appeal to anybody? And so when you're doing short form and long form, you want to expand that attention as big as possible to the biggest market. Okay, it's a little bit counterintuitive. You don't want to do this with Facebook, because if you do it with Facebook or YouTube, you're going to get penalized for it. But for short form or long form, you could do anything you want. So here's this example. Like this right here is a hook that would appeal towards any sort of woman who's in a relationship, right? So you could get the attention. Let's say you wanted to have an offer around the menopausal like weight secret. You could use this hook on short form or on long form to capture the attention of someone who's in your market ultimately, right? This would still appeal to that woman, because again, that woman, one of the agendas she's operating is that lover agenda. And this one ties directly into that. Does that make sense? But you wouldn't want to run this as an ad for a menopause weight loss solution, because it's not a one-to-one correlation. But you could run this and would run it to get the same kind of attention that hopefully then you can convert into the product that you want. The other thing is for long form, you want to pay attention to attention gap. So short form is low risk. Long form is higher risk. Ads are probably the highest risk ones. Okay. So long form is one with the attention gap that we'll have to talk about when we go to part 2, which that workshop will be later, because it requires some other sort of primes. But yeah, we need that. So let me ask you, what do I mean by risk? So like with short form, if you put up, so you want to be thoughtful with it, right? Like nobody really knows how the algorithm works, even the people who made it, because it's machine learning. But in general, if you put out a video for short form and it flops, you're not going to get stuck. Like the algorithm will ultimately penalize you, but you're not going to get 100%. Like you're not going to get stuck with that, right? If you're doing an ad and you start spending money on an ad that's not performing, and it's like, it's either pissing people off or it's not performing that well. Well, the algorithm is going to start pushing your message to fewer and fewer people. Okay. And you're going to have higher and higher costs to do what you need to do. Long form is higher risk because you need to invest the time in order to create the video. And because, yeah, that's really actually probably the biggest one, is because of the time investment into it. Yeah, but you could use these hooks and this attention for anything that you want to do. Okay, anything else that you want to do. Before I go into the challenge and what I mean by that in part 2, are there any questions or things that are not clear about this process? Tell me what you mean, Bradley. Like what's the market? Tiny homes definitely can work for tiny homes. So it can work for anything that you want to do. That's the beauty of it. Like you could start from the most niche to the broadest one, and you can walk through it, and you'll have literally endless amounts of hooks that you can use. And they're solid. I mean, and then even, I know Mario has some cool stuff that's figured out. as well for tomorrow, some dope micro leads. But I want you to, like, as you watch the micro leads training tomorrow, pair these with everything that we talked about on here. So let me see.
Yeah,
We understood buying the-
a lot of the ideas you shared today can literally be the basis of new micro leads too. I already have
Exactly.
for shit that, because the micro leads is just about structuring the correct elements in the correct way, but getting the like emotion seeking ideas. Like, I mean, he just gave you like ways to get thousands of those. My head that's why I kept, every time he kept calling on me, I wasn't paying attention because I was just thinking about all these fucking different hooks that I could turn into actual micro leads.
Yeah, and the way I understood buying agenda is the photo should invoke the buying agenda because it's milliseconds. Yes, and it will, but you want the photo to be really congruent with the hook. So the hook comes from the buying agenda, and the photo comes from the hook, and so everything stacks on itself. How many of these hooks leads you test in your campaigns? I mean, usually the issue is like how many things you can test at that point, right? Like how many creatives can you create? How much can you put out there? So like you can test as much as you want. The other cool thing about we talked about the attention clusters is that once you find, like good media buyers, the ones that I talk to, is like once you find a good idea, like the way I see it is almost like, let me not use that metaphor. Basically, once you find like a decent idea, then you want to iterate around that idea and come at it from different angles until you find one that's really, really optimized. That's how you optimize. And so some of these prompts, especially the attention clusters one, is really great for taking one idea, one hook, and then iterating with it with slightly different variants that are really, really powerful. And you'll look at a lot of short form creators, what they do is they actually have multiple accounts and they will post the same hook and idea with alternate messaging, alternate packaging, or alternate language, and see which one takes off. And then that's the one that they'll use, right? So same idea, but just different iterations. How will the hooks work on varying platforms like Reels versus Threads, X, and would it work well for building an audience for a personal brand? Again, I think that the reason I call this like attention in the raw is you can use these for any platform that you want. Next time on part 2, I want to go through specifics on how to take this and convert it into any platform, Reels, Threads, X, whatever. But like this little setup right here, you could put this as again, as a reel. You could put this on TikTok. You could create a longer form video around it, although you want to check. There's ways to validate that idea before you do that. You can make this a post. You can do whatever you want with it. It could be for personal brand. All you know is that this is correlated to that exact agenda that person is concerned about, and it's expressed in a way that creates maximal curiosity, right? So what if you have specific context you want to inform the hooks, like specific angles or research that you want to highlight, but still have to correlate it to the agenda? So you can, I would say, just talk with it. It's like, especially with Claude. So this workflow for everyone on here, don't get constrained to the workflow and think that that's the only way to do it. The reason I put it that way is so that you don't get confused. If you just go step by step, you're not going to get confused. Okay. But if the best way to work with these tools is to work with it, like to coach it. So Dina, if you're saying like, hey, I want you to put this angle or this research in it or whatever else, it 100% can do that. And you just have to talk to it. Now, the point at which you would do it, I would probably put it like around here. Okay, so when you're creating your hooks and your hook clusters, once you generate them, you can say, hey, I'd like more of these hooks to be about this topic, blah, blah, blah. Can you like make it more like that? And then it will go from there. Okay, and then you need to watch it to make sure that that extra information doesn't mess it up. Awesome. Scott says, today's the seed of a giant redwood tree. You can take today's output and continue to grow it into almost anything. Yes, and that's the exact point, right? You can grow it once you have this, it's very, very systematic. It will come up with these interesting angles that are extremely, extremely powerful. Okay. Yes, exactly. We're going to use this for the brands. It's VA simple. The more experience you have, the more freedom you have to freestyle. Exactly. Provide upfront value for someone if you're sending out a cold message. Joshua, I honestly would say no, because the only reason why is you're able to create, like, I would call this like an attention asset, right? But then what you do with that, it depends on the platform and the ultimate purpose. Okay. So if you're like reaching out to like a business owner, they're going to look at it and be like, all right, that's really cool idea, but I don't know how to use it. So it's better off to do like what Mario is doing tomorrow, which is like with the micro leads. I actually think that's probably one of the coolest things you can do with micro leads. You can pop these on. Now, the other thing as well, I didn't create any examples, but like if you're a copywriter on here and you want to just post stuff on your Facebook wall and start putting out some like client attraction content, you can use this exact same method to come up with ideas. Okay, we don't have time to run through it all on here, but I encourage any copywriters on here to run through this process and see what you come up with. It will likely come up with some pretty interesting ideas that you can use and you can post. Great for like client attraction stuff. All right, so if you're watching the replay, for those who hopped off and for anyone who's on here, there's a lot more that I wanted to include in this presentation that I literally there just wasn't enough time. We're already over by 12 minutes. Okay, so certain types of automations, going a little bit deeper into some of the animations that you can use. So automations, animations, some of the storytelling stuff, some stuff around memes that was really interesting that I couldn't fit into this presentation. There's a lot, and then also some processes on like really how to turn this into actual scripts that you want to do. So what I decided was like, hey, I'm not going to fit it all into this one, but I don't want to leave it out because I feel like those things are important. So I said, all right, I'm going to do a part 2 to this version, which will likely be in 1 to 2 weeks from now. Give you a little bit of time to let this stuff digest. And everyone who is watching the replay or is on it, you'll have access to that extra training call as well. And we'll send out the replay if you can't make it live. But that'll give me a little bit of extra time to nerd out. It'll be like the director's cut version. Okay, so you can get all the extra stuff that I had to pop off. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to make you work for it. Okay. And the reason why is because I want you to actually use this process and not have it just sit here and be like, oh, it was really cool. Like I learned about the agendas. Yes, that's awesome. It'll make you more talented. It'll give you a better perspective. I really want you to use it. And I want you to see the power of it. Because once you are able to use something like this, play around with these tools, put your own spin on it, and really get used to using this process in your workflow, like it's awesome. I want you to try it out. So here's the challenge. It's very, very simple. You have 2 options. One is take this formula, this workshop, follow the workflow. You're free to experiment with it, but follow the workflow, if nothing else, and use this to post natively somewhere. Facebook wall, Instagram story, email, ad, something. I want to see you use this process to get attention in some sort of platform. Option 2, and I really encourage you to do option 1. That's going to be the most important thing, because you'll see like, oh, this is cool. Like I posted this in here and I blew up. Option 2 is if there was a nugget or something that you found very, very valuable, you could put this in the AI Marketers Facebook group. Okay, if you're not in there, like just search up AI Marketers with an apostrophe that bothers everybody. But that's my bad. So AI Marketers with an apostrophe, go and look it up, and you can ask someone around if you have trouble or reach out to support. Go in there and just put your takeaway in it. But come at the angle of like, I'm going to share some information for that group, right? We're not going to give away all the secret sauce, but like just share something that you found interesting that was helpful for them. Okay, make sure it's clear, make sure that it's actually valuable and actually educational. This is not to go and spam the group, but just to share and be like, hey, here's some cool value. Also, you missed out. Haha. Right. And then if you want to use these attention mechanisms or this attention workshop to make that post and put it in there, that's valuable as well. Okay. So you can either put it in the AI Marketers Facebook group, but the biggest one that I recommend you do is use it for an email that you write, use it on your own socials, use it as an ad, something like that. And then all you need to do is pop this into super simple submission link, right? Which everyone has access to. I'll put it in here too if you want to save it right now. It explains what you need to do. All you got to do is put your name, put a screenshot of whatever your post is, right? Your email, something like that, so I can see that you did it, or link it. Either one, just pick one of those options. Any relevant metrics, meaning like, how did it work for you? I just want to know, like, did you find it enjoyable? Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? What happened? Did you get a client? Did you make sales? That stuff is powerful. If you don't have anything, just put no, but you know, I would love to hear how it actually works for you. And the last thing is make sure you put your email address, because that's how I'll send out the invite link for you as well. Okay. The training will likely be around these dates, 18th, 19th. So you have a little bit of time to make this happen. Okay. So you can watch Mario's training tomorrow, join us live on Thursday. It would be a really great opportunity to workshop this if you have something in mind, and then we can go from there. This stuff will be sent, all this stuff will be sent to you, but let me just do it. Let me just share it right now because I don't want to forget. And the slides, will probably have to be put in the members area and then emailed, because I don't think I can upload those. I'm going to try, but let's see. It might be too big.
Those slides actually look really sick. What the hell did you make that in?
Canva.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I will not be giving any fancy slides tomorrow. Bring your reading glasses. We're going back.
Once you start, this stuff was fun. I love these.
Yeah, it looks sick.
And a gun. Awesome. All right. So that went through, and you'll have it in the members area. Any last questions I can answer? And how did you guys find this? Was it valuable? Was it good? Did you get something worthwhile and something useful from it?
I thought it was super fucking good.
Awesome. I'll try this one.
Amazing as always, brother. Always amazing.
Thank you. Your ears are bleeding.
I think it's gonna take a while for all that shit to set in, people.
Yeah, it's very like a lot of like fundamentals from it. So like take time to digest it, and
definitely read the prompts too. You guys will get a lot of value out of just reading the prompts themselves. Like it'll make more sense instead of just seeing words appear out of the ether magically.
Yeah, a ton. And what's cool is when we go to part 2, it's like, since we have a lot of this foundation, it'll be cool. It'll be way easier to just build on that foundation, right? That's why I want to give you a couple different weeks. I'm going to do like 18th, 19th. I haven't decided on it. Yeah, Mario's, not to confuse anyone, Mario's doing his micro leads still same time tomorrow, 2 to 4 Eastern, and then the same time as today. And then Thursday, we're doing an open Q&A to workshop leads, to workshop whatever. I really encourage for everyone who's on here, like micro leads, you know, if you're email copywriter or Facebook copywriter or something else, leads might seem kind of outside your purview. Like, how am I going to use these, or how are they important? Business owners pretty much usually who are in direct response understand the value of these leads, but copywriters sometimes there's a mental block between, I'm a short form writer, I don't do long form, right? Long form is for the big boys, or I just don't like long form, which is okay. But I'm telling you, like, you cannot underestimate how important these micro leads are. I say it all the time, but like there are screenshots or there's messages in our Slack channel where it's like me, Mario, and Stefan talking, and we're like, holy shit, we're still blown away that just changing the first 100 words like makes these big increases. Because we're not talking about little jumps. We're talking about the difference between something that cannot scale and does not make money to something that can scale and makes a shit ton of money. Like 40% lifts, huge lifts from a short amount of words. Our brains go, there's no way, like it can't be that easy, but it is that easy. So don't
You literally-
disqualify yourself from using these micro leads for client outreach, for getting new controls, for giving you the freedom. One of the big ones, sorry Mario, but one of the big things was when I worked with Stefan, I was like, hey, like what if I write this thing and it doesn't really work? He's like, well, usually what we do is we just send them different leads. Okay?
Right.
And almost invariably, one of those leads would end up working. So if you're scared of long form or it's hard to do long form, like leads is a really nice way to take some of that pressure off, because you have different iterations that you can try out that will work. And when you're using these frameworks, I'm telling you, when you're using these frameworks, you will end up with so much like better output than 95% of people that are out there. I know, because I've seen a lot of that copy. So I don't know.
Look-
That's my rant. Make use of it, really.
You can get the same kind of lifts in just changing like a 150 word lead than you can spending a whole month or two writing a whole new VSL. So like if you guys don't think that like people will trust you, like if you have like self-doubt, oh, why are they gonna let me write micro leads? You can literally make a business out of just reaching out to companies, asking for the VSLs they tested that didn't work, and then sending it back to them with different micro leads. If you get one of those to go from not working to working, you're gonna be like a fucking magician in your client's eyes, and you're gonna get hired for whatever you want.
Yeah. Saul says I had a promo that didn't
Exactly,
work,
Saul.
was going to scrape it, but the fifth lead hit it out of the park.
I'm gonna show you guys some crazy ones tomorrow too. I got the anti-mechanism one that I teased a little bit on Facebook that got a huge win for a 9-figure company. I got the microscopic inspection one that we use a lot inside the agency. It works really good. I got the journey around the world, which actually is really good at taking like boring commoditized products and adding like hitting the dopamine receptors from that when you know like your product is the same as everyone else's. The Tale of Two Heroes, which is kind of like a riff of what Luke was talking about, like what was the difference? Obviously, one of the most proven structures of all time. We got the Department of Truth, which I'm not even going to tell you guys what that is. You have to wait till tomorrow. We got the Hidden Camera, which is literally fueling one of the biggest offers that is working right now. It's a black hat offer, but you can use it for any offer. And it's like just the way that it's like a different visual format that ties into it. It's like it really gets a lot of traction in the market for sure. And then I got the Horror Report, which I told some people about. It's fueling another one of the big offers right now. You could apply it to anything, and it just triggers emotions like fucking crazy. So I'll show you guys how to do it. We'll go through like real leads that are running in the wild, and then I'll give you guys some templates too, so you can be lazy. But thanks, Brad.
Awesome. All right, guys, I will let you all go, and we will see you tomorrow and Thursday. And I'm, get active. I want to see some emails and some stuff being sent out. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys use this. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see you all from there. Peace.
See you
Thanks, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.